So the question is, how do I work with people so we can still get things done even though things are really stressful and at least part of the group is melting down and behaving in ways that are not productive and are holding the whole group back? Hi, it's David with another entry into the Virtual Leadership Library for you, that person who can see a better future already and you're determined to bring it to life and you're willing to challenge the people and the systems to bring them along so that it can happen. So what about those times when everyone is stressed and it's so hard to bring something to life, even though it's clear to you and maybe to others that it would be a great thing to do? Well, takes us back to that classic issue of, is a person in challenge mindset or are they in threat mindset? And I shot a video on that a few weeks ago that was really well received. So if you haven't watched that, you might want to check it out here. You can click here and just go get that background. But this is about how do you apply that? Because I'll tell you from my experience, I don't think this is cynical. When the stress is high, in an average group, more than half of the people will at least initially land in the threat mindset. And you will need to help bring them along to more of a challenge mindset to be productive. Now, in a super elite group, in an average group, I'd say it's 70% of the people who will land, 80% maybe, will land at threat initially. In an elite group, it may be a smaller number, but there are still people that you need to bring along in order for you to accomplish your bigger goals. And it could be with a customer who's in threat mindset. It could be with a teammate. If you're running a company, it could be a lot of people across the company. It could be a peer. And how do you bring them along? So we're going to work on that today, but let me just give you a quick learning tip. Pick a specific person in a specific situation that you need to help move forward. Because in the learning world, it's much easier to learn something for a specific application and then later generalize it to different situations than it is to just listen to this and kind of think generally about this and then later try to get really specific. So think of someone in a specific situation and we'll get ready to go and talk about how about the threat mindset, how do you move those people forward, and then what can you do to support people who are in that challenge mindset. All right, we're ready to focus on a specific person in a specific situation who's in threat mindset right now. So what is it that they're concerned about? What are the things that they might be needing or wanting? Well, the first thing, it's very common, and by the way, these are essentially fight, flight, and freeze behaviors in the workplace. The first one is they want to look good, particularly to senior leadership, to the boss, to other people that are above them. It's wired into our DNA that whoever has more status, I need to look good to them. So their behaviors will be more about looking good than necessarily moving the business forward. Another thing that's very common is that they don't want to stick their neck out. So, they're not going to be raising their hands to do the new project. They're going to let somebody else do it. They're not going to be applying the best of themselves. Also, they're trying to do everything they can to prevent loss, because if loss gets hung on them, they're afraid that they're going to be thrown out of the tribe. And so they're trying to avoid that. Again, this is genetically wired into us, these behaviors. They're also going to try to avoid disagreement. Okay, I'm just going to abbreviate that as DG, disagreement. So they're trying to avoid any of those conflicts because they might come out on the bottom side of that. That's their fight, flight, and freeze behavior. And then they're also going to resist change. So delta for change. They are way more comfortable with what they know than anything that they might not know. All right, so what's your approach? How can you, knowing this is their mindset and this is their approach to stay safe, what do you need to do? Well, I just said the word that you need to understand. And everything I'm going to share with you about how to approach them has to do with this. It has to do with keeping them safe, helping them feel safe or safer. Okay, so first, you need to, this is classic saying, you've heard it before, but you really need to do it, which is meet them where they are. Meaning, if you're over here in challenge mindset saying, come on, let's go conquer the world, here's a great opportunity, and they're in threat mindset, you can't stand over here where you are and say, hey, stupid, come with me. You need to meet them where they are. Understand and help them know that you understand their world, even though you may not agree with them. If you try and do it from over here, In emotions, the Newton's laws of motion occur or apply also. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So if you try and push against them or pull them out of where they are, they're going to resist. They're going to go further into their fear-based place. So you need to help them feel safe. You need to, meet them where they are, show them that you appreciate where they are, and then don't make any sudden moves. Just like, think about if you were to meet a dog or a cat who is afraid or a child who is afraid, and you approach them quickly, they'd run, right? Well, the same thing is true metaphorically, which means you don't throw radical ideas at them immediately. That's a sudden move, and they're going to draw back, okay? So you need to take baby steps, small steps, help them see, find a way, safe steps that they can make, baby steps, so that they can both build their confidence in the idea, build their confidence in themselves, and really importantly, build their confidence in you. So small baby steps. Are you thinking of that specific person in a specific situation and thinking of ways that you can do that? Make it specific because you'll get a lot more out of this video if you do that. Then you need to keep checking in. Don't assume just because you got them from A to B that now they're happy at B. No, they may be terrified at B. So check in. You may have to go through that process again. And don't assume just because you got them now from B to C that again they're fine. You need to keep checking in. You're becoming their trusted ally, helping them through this difficult time. Okay? So that's another thing that's super important. The last thing is what you're doing is you're essentially, what they're going to start to realize is as they move forward with you, you're inviting them into a better version of themselves. Because when they're in fight, flight, and freeze, they are ruled by the most primitive and least mature part of their brain. And as they start to move forward, it actually feels better. They'll feel more powerful. So you're inviting them in to that better part of themselves. And you may be thinking, are you kidding me? This is like coddling these people. They should just do their jobs. Yeah, I agree with you. It would be nice if they did that. But keep this in mind. If the majority of people, I'd say, before I said like 70% of the people on average end up at least first in threat. Well, even if you're surrounded by other people who are in the challenge mindset, you don't have enough of you to get the job done that you want to get done. So you need these people. So you're trying to draw them forward first from threat towards a little less threat and maybe eventually all the way into challenge mindset. But even having them be less ruled by that part of their brain that's holding them back is going to be useful to you. And yeah, it's worth it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to achieve the goal. Sorry, bad news, but you'll need to do the work to bring them along and you'll need to be patient. Therefore, you can get the work done. So essentially though for them, what they're going to feel is, I'm starting to like this because I'm beginning to feel more powerful and confident and clear-minded and, dare I say, even calm about what I used to be afraid of. That feels great. All right, next, let's talk about how do you help the people who are in challenge mindset, who may be really frustrated, how do you help them move their process forward? All right, now we're talking to somebody in a challenge mindset. Again, get specific person, specific situation, so you can think about this. People in a challenge mindset are going to be really impatient with people in a threat mindset. So this is about coaching them to manage themselves around these people, because without the people who are in threat, who are probably at least at the beginning in the majority in terms of head count, you're not going to be able to get the big work done that you or that they want to get done. If you're leading it yourself or if you're coaching them, this applies. Get specific though, specific person, specific place. So for them in a challenge mindset, their mindset is much more about let's embrace the opportunity. It may be a threat, but they're seeing this as even a game or something fun. So they're looking for openings. And they're open to risks as long as they're smart risks, okay? They're ready to go because even if they fail, they know they'll learn, they'll get stronger, they'll be better. So, the other thing is they're asking, how can we be bold here? Because that when you're in challenge mindset, you feel powerful and it's fun to flex your muscles and do things, especially when you see maybe a competitor or someone else who's like on their back heels because they are in fight, flight, and freeze, and here's an opportunity for us to go have some fun and make the best of this situation. So they still need to be smart. They don't, challenge mindset can lead to being cocky and taking risks that aren't so smart. But those are some of the things that you need to know about their mindset. But they're going to be really frustrated, or maybe it's you. You're going to be really frustrated with someone who's over here in threat mindset. So you really need to remind yourself, like I said when we were talking about threat, yes, what you're talking about is probably possible and you should go for it. And you're going to need the people who are over here to come with you, to support you. Otherwise, you can't do it by yourself. And if nothing else, they will be so good at being in threat mindset that they will become stubborn threats and obstacles to your goal. So you need to bring them along, which starts with meeting them where they are. Now, what do? Remind them that they need to create safety, whatever that means for this group of people. If it's going to help them look good to the boss, if it's about showing them that at least initially it's not a big threat to them, even if we move forward, there's not a huge loss right now, just reassure them that the things that they're most afraid of aren't going to come to life if they engage with you. Another thing that I found is one of the things that they will appeal to is if they've had success somewhere already, like something is high quality, it works for them. In 2008, when a lot of my colleagues were really having trouble getting business, our business grew significantly, and it was with some people that we had trusting relationships with that knew our work was quality. So even if they were in threat mindset, they were willing to take that risk with us because they'd seen it work before. So maybe you can you can show them things that they already know work and get them to engage that way. That's one of the ways to approach them so that they're not running away from you, so it's not too sudden a movement. Then some other things that you can do is you can help them engage. So even when we're feeling fear, people can still connect to a cause bigger than themselves. If we are successful with this thing that you're proposing from your challenge mindset, think of the people that will help. Think how we'll make the company or the world better, or how our customers will be better off. Something that they're excited about, and help them connect to that bigger cause. Because when any of us connect to a bigger cause, the emotion that generates is courage or caring, sometimes even love, if it's for a cause that's super meaningful to them. And while fear is a super strong emotion that lives here, courage and caring and love are some of the few emotions that are actually stronger than fear. So even though they're feeling the fear, if they connect to something bigger, the courage is strong enough that it overpowers the fear. So they'll still be afraid, but now they can begin to act instead of being stuck. So if you're that person in challenge mindset, working to bring someone else along, these are some things to remember. So keep in mind also, some people live in both places. Like in this situation, they're very much in challenge mindset, but over here in this situation, they're in threat mindset. Or at this part of their life, they're challenge, and in this part of their life, they're threat, whatever. We don't have to be all challenge, all threat, all the time. So just keep in mind, don't assume that because you see a person in one place, that means they're that way, they're in challenge or threat in all places. Because ultimately, the work can't stop. We can't do the work though. You can't get things done without these people. But just calling them wrong and criticizing them or telling them, get over here, you're being an idiot, yeah, that's not going to help them. That's not going to help you move this along. So you have to know your audience, meet them where you are, and apply those steps to bring them forward. So I bring you back to specific situation, specific person. Do you have some ideas now how you can engage with them to get the work to move forward? That's all this is about. If this is not super clear with you about challenge or threat mindset, watch this video, okay? It'll give you much more background than what you already have. All right, I'm looking forward to hearing how you apply this, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.